Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In War of the Visions, let's have a look at the game post-update. There's the Final Fantasy X return, of course, but there's some other interesting stuff like the Crystal Fest banner return. There's next month's Cost 100 unit to think about, which might be a global first. Then we'll talk about the Livestream from the other day, and then maybe the future of the game. Alright, but first we have these login bonuses. I think this is supposed to be the unit of Tita, but we got the 40 shards here instead, since I already have him. And we got some pickup tickets for the Esper later. Mind Spheres. Oh, I guess these are just the shards for the characters then. Alrighty. Okay, shop. I'll look at that on my own time. Next, let's go to summons. And I am going to 100% build Tita now. Part of that is because there are no new characters announced. And I'm excited because I like bruisers and I will build him and use him that way. The Steki Dane vision card I'm actually waffling on now. I looked again at my water vision cards, and I have a lot actually, including the new Chaos Odin, or Dark Odin. Yuna is tempting, but as we shall see, the 100 free pulls that they give you will not include any of the Final Fantasy X except for Tita himself, so I'm not going to be able to pull her by accident. Okay, there we are. Yeah, we can look at the rates, why not? Let's see, water... Okay, there's Tita. Light, right, no Yuna. And no Auron, fine. And vision cards, I don't believe Steki Dane is in here. No, doesn't look like it. Okay. Alright, let's see what we got. Oh, here is where you get the unit. Okay, so we'll get the 40 shards instead, and the bonus 10 there, and then maybe later on during the thing, maybe I get more pulls of Tita. But yeah, lots of shards for him. And let's look at the other banners. Okay, new vision card. I'm probably going to skip that. But let's do a free pull. Let's see what happens. Not a free pull, discount. No, okay. Okay, then we got Yuna and Auron and all these guys. 9-step. Right, and we have the return of the Crystal Fest banner. This is the first time since Artoria's release, January 1st, so it's been about a month and a half. And then we see just Artoria here. He has the pickup. Let's look at how much exactly. So right, 0.4%, that's the same as launch. And then as the days go by, they will feature more of the units. June will come in a few days. Let's see, what else we got here. Standard banner, right, there's no pity gauge at the top. And get some Mind Spheres. Oh, Ildura's still up. And then let's look at the Mog Shop. And let's look at the Crystal Fest. Okay, so here we actually see the return of the ceiling for these characters. So that's cool. If you missed them the first time, you could go for the guaranteed get this time. But the shards that I got from earlier, these are still gone, so yeah. I'm debating whether I want to go for Lanon or not. I do have him pulled, but we'll see. Not a high priority for me. And then let's look at the bingo board. If Yuna is back, that might be tempting. Nope. Okay, that solves that problem. Oh, and then you can get the fraternity again if you want. Alright, and then the rest of the video, not going to be really looking at the game, so we can just look at this instead. Okay, so folks might be wondering why there are no new units. My guess is that they were just too busy. Around the end of the year is a crazy time for all Japanese companies, whether they are gaming or not. And I think it was either to do the return like this or don't do it at all. Of course, people are calling the developers lazy, but still there's new vision card, voices for the units, and a new item. That's enough for a return if you ask me. Maybe not exciting, but it's enough. Of course, there are all the players that were not around a year ago, newer players. And then voices are a big deal for Japanese players, and I can't stress that enough. And then I'm personally sad there are no new units because that means that we are no closer to Final Fantasy X-2. Also, there are new Mastery Ability 2s for the X units, for the 10 units. The developers really stressed in the livestream that Tita and Yuna are still super usable, and I agree with that. So they didn't give them crazy updates, but Aron needed a little bit more help. And I'm thinking maybe going forward, I am going to work on every handout unit that comes back. I regret not working on them before. Next, let's think about the next Cost 100 unit coming March 1st in JP. Last year, to commemorate the Global's 1-year anniversary, they released Dwayne in JP. So it's reasonable to think they would release another Global first this year. Elena and Ibara are really the only options, I think, since we already have Zazan, and Fravia is probably not coming, unless they make a buffed Cost 100 version of her, which would be hilarious. Whoever it is, I'll probably skip them, because there's kind of no reason for me to go for a Global First unit. Then, let's talk about the livestream. They said one bit of news about Linkverse, and that was that it will directly link to your game account. So like what units you have, or like what equipment you have will be represented in your profile page or whatever it is on the website. And I think some people are unclear of what Linkverse actually is. It's like a fan-made Altema, but with more interpersonal functions, like a Wikipedia about War of the Visions. It's not just a chat thing. And then also a preview of the 2.5 anniversary for JP. They said that they would not introduce a higher unit form, like another stage of EX, or level 140 or something similar. This is great. We can continue to enjoy the current nice game balance and power creep. We can take the time and enjoy the units we already have. And during the live stream, they deleted comments in the chat asking about Final Fantasy Tactics. It was fun to see what comments survived and what didn't. I saw a bunch of like, where's FFT or FFT please, in both Japanese and English getting deleted. Later in the live stream, I saw one comment that said, I love FFT. And I was like, oh, is this one going to make it? I watched it scroll up and up, all the way to the top, and then right off the screen, and I thought that was pretty hilarious. But why did they delete these comments? It's just my interpretation, but I think the developers were trying to send a message. These developers are actually pretty frank and then open about their process. It's been fun and educational listening to them. Certainly you compare it to 5 years ago or something, when maybe you wouldn't ever even see the developer's face. And in the last half year or so, the War of the Visions developers have dropped hints that Tactics is not coming soon. But people clearly can't take a hint, so the last 2 live streams they have not even mentioned Final Fantasy Tactics, and they deleted the comments in the chat this time around. They can't and won't say, hey everybody, stop bringing up FFT, we won't address it because we don't have anything good to say. But they essentially got that message across through their silence. You watch and listen to game developers long enough, like me, and you learn how to interpret how they don't answer questions or don't address issues. That's why when they left up the unrigged banner in Global, I knew to interpret that it was fine and fair, because I know how to read between the lines. Will folks take the hint this time on Tactics? Probably not, but rest assured, the moment the developers make the slightest hint that Tactics is on the horizon, I will let you know. That's what I'm here for. I hope I have built up enough trust that people will believe what I say. Some of you might be asking, we all want tactics, why don't they just release it? And believe me, the developers see that we all want it, and they would love to do it now, or preferably last year. So therefore, something beyond their control must be stopping it. The only reason I have heard from the developer's mouth about the delay is voice acting. But at a certain point, delaying the return for voices stops being worth it, and I think we're beyond that point, so it is suspicious. It must be something else, something serious. I say this every now and then, but collaborations in mobile games are tricky things. Chrono Trigger has never gotten a collab in any game because someone out there with the rights won't sign the paper. It's difficult and expensive to make collabs happen, and a first collaboration does not guarantee a second collaboration. They often have separate contracts and agreements. And don't tell me that Tactics already came back once in War of the Visions. I'm pretty sure those two were planned together, but had a staggered release. 6 months between collab appearances is very unusual. That's very short. It's much more common for them to be a year or more apart. But getting back to how hard it is to make collaborations happen, I'm not saying Tactics is never coming back, but you look at the history of some other mobile games, you look at even the history of the sister game, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, and we can see what's possible. We have to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst being Tactics never returns, and those units are stuck at 99 forever. That being said, I predict a 2022 latter half return of Final Fantasy Tactics, but at this point I don't have a lot of hope for how strong they would be when they get the EX jobs. The last few months we have seen the cost 90 units really pull away from cost 80 as far as strength. I've heard some players guess that the developers are saving the Tactics units for when they release the higher unit form, but I doubt that. I'm pretty sure they will do that with all new units, most likely Lightning. And from a milking the user's point of view, to skip the EX Awakening of Final Fantasy Tactics means one less chance to milk users, in addition to the eventual higher Awakening form. And here, I was going to take the vinegar bottle off the shelf. I've left it up there for a while. And then address the various ridiculous global exclusive outrages regarding the livestream, but I'm not going to do it. I don't care enough to try to fix things. Instead, I will say, again, if you don't speak Japanese, don't guess, don't speculate, don't make stuff up. RNJ uses my community posts to talk about the live streams, and I'm glad he does. I do it partly for him and other content creators, because he and they reach different audiences than I do. And to the people working themselves up over nothing, do I have to roll out the Chicken Little reference again? Chicken Little has a specific meaning, by the way. Some people seem to think it is a catch-all insult. It's not really an insult, and if you do think it's an insult, it shows you don't understand the reference. It's not literally talking about a domestic fowl of diminutive stature. There's a thing called the lexicon, where entire ideas and messages and contexts are communicated with a non-literal phrase that we all just automatically associate with that greater meaning. Like when I say Emperor's New Clothes, I hope you're not just thinking about invisible clothing. What I hope you're thinking about is con men and peer pressure and questioning authority and the danger of vanity and saying something when you see something wrong. When I say sour grapes, I hope you're not just thinking about fruit that grows in clusters on deciduous woody vines of the flowering plant genus Vitis that taste bad. I use Chicken Little because it's a well-known, hundreds of years old folktale, and just by saying the name, people should immediately understand the point I am trying to make and how it applies to this context, and who is who in the story, and how we can apply the moral of the story to our situation, and so on. If you've never read Chicken Little, or Aesop, or Hans Christian Andersen, please do. Familiarize yourself with the lexicon. Okay, maybe there was a little bit of vinegar in there at the end. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.